What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. You know, the Justin Timberlake meme. It's gonna be May. Well, we're almost out of April, and that is absolutely crazy to think about. But today we are talking all of the movies, new releases that I saw ranked. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't get to as many this month. A lot of things going on in my personal life and then TV shows, but we're going to talk about these films. So I'm going to talk about them on their specific tier and then rank them at the end of the video. Time codes in the description. If you like this monthly series, support this channel, drop that thumbs up, and subscribe if you're new here. If you're new, how you doing? All right. And let's start with Thunder Force, the Melissa McCarthy, Ben Falcone film, you know, the husband-wife collab that we continue to get almost every other year, and it just hasn't worked up until this point, and it continues to not work. This is one of those movies that you go into wanting to laugh, and I will be fully transparent and say that there were a few funny moments, a lot of them with Jason Bateman's lobster claws for hands, so I did get a few chuckles, maybe more than I anticipated, but at the end of the day, you look at this cast, and McCarthy, Octavia Spencer, and the fact that it should have been at least a bit more funny than it ended up being, and it just wasn't. It's awkward, it's cringeworthy, it does absolutely nothing for you, and it wasn't, I didn't get any pleasure out of watching it. It was just blech all the way through. And when you have a comedy like that, what's its number one job? Well, it's to make you laugh, but unfortunately, I've got to put this one on the awful tier. I didn't get really anything from it other than a few good chuckles, and Jason Bateman as a lobster. Or was it a crab? I can't remember. All right, let's get into the next one, and that is In the Earth. Now, funny thing is, I actually saw this film at a film festival a few months back, and it is one of those horror movies that is very, we're talking visually stunning, right? Ben Wheatley is a filmmaker whom I'm just kind of up and down on. I like his style, but for the most part, I haven't truly connected to his stories. This is yet another case where the story didn't quite do it for me. But the visuals and some of the horror elements, especially when you get into that gore and just, you know, in a horror film when you have those moments that just make you sit back and go, ooh, I don't know if that's, but it's working, right? It's effective. That's how it's supposed to make you feel. This has that. Now, if you don't love flashing lights, all right, and you see this in a theater, you may not love this film because it has a lot of it towards the end, but it's got some great creature design. It's a mixture almost of Annihilation. There are elements of what a film like Mandy was. All of those things at the end of the day puts this on the okay tier because, again, the story just didn't quite get there, even though there's a lot of really good stuff about it. So let's talk about one of my favorite movies of this month, and that is Shiva Baby. Shiva Baby. That is just a movie unlike anything else you're going to see this year, and I want to throw that on the great tier. Directed by Emma Seligman, it's a college student attending the Shiva where she is just kind of bombarded by her relatives, outshined by her ex-girlfriend, face-to-face with her sugar daddy. It's a lot going on, and it's this overwhelming movie that brings out these overwhelming emotions that are at times difficult to watch because you're seeing it through the perspective of our main character. And the cast here, by the way, from Molly Gordon to Rachel Sennott, who is just outstanding as Danielle, and I just really love the way that this was constructed and put together. It is a beautifully directed movie. There are one or two elements that kept it from truly thriving, and it is a shorter movie. It's only 78 minutes, so maybe there was room for a bit more in terms of story, but there is a lot to this film that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I think Shiva Baby is easily one of the more, overwhelming emotionally, but engrossing stories of the year, and I really like the way that this played out and the way that it toys with your emotions, and frankly, that's what you want from a movie like that. The next one is Why Did You Kill Me? It's a documentary. It is going on the okay tier. And so the murder here, which is tragic in itself, is not really the focus of the story. It's kind of the aftermath. It's about this family that's using social media to catfish and track down these people. So this film is kind of divisive. A lot of people just didn't really like it. The way it was executed, the way it was put together. I was kind of engrossed in the storyline, even though it's really hard to relate to certain characters, even though you feel the tragedy within their actual story, if that makes sense. And it is just a conventional documentary. For me, it's more kind of the style, using this scaled-down version of the city and using these vehicles to kind of show what actually happened. And then the idea of catfishing these people, I mean, that concept is interesting, but then you look at the morality behind all of it and the tragedy in itself in the first place. It's just all of these things coming together to create a documentary that was okay for me, but I understand that a lot of people were frustrated while watching this, so it's not one that everyone is going to respond to. I'll tell you that much. Next up is Justice Society, and this was an animated DC film that I watched recently. Not a lot of people have watched it yet because it's not available for rent, but I'm going to throw it on the good tier. This is one of DC's better outings, and we're using and utilizing The Flash to go to, oh, I got an email, to go back in time, or at least you'll see when you watch the movie, and discover this team known as the Justice Society and meet all of these characters in which I love and I love exploring, that we rarely get to see in a DC movie like this. From a Hawkman, of course, our Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor, is there. Jay Garrick's version of The Flash, our man. I mean, it's just a cool situation for our heroes to be in, and one that plays out in a thoroughly entertaining fashion. And we're kind of mixing in like a Casablanca type World War II battle within these superheroes figuring this out. Really, Barry Allen figuring this out, where he is, why he is there. And then you get into the third act that was a little underwhelming and disappointing. That's what keeps this from being a great DC animated movie, but I thought it was good nonetheless. Then we have Michael B. Jordan's brand new film, Without Remorse, and I'm putting that on the okay tier. Listen, this is Tom Clancy's Without Remorse, okay? So I was expecting, well, sort of expecting something big, something bold, and a vehicle for Michael B. Jordan to do what he does best, and that is entertain. And the guy does just that. He takes this film and its semi-mediocre plot, a familiar story, he puts it on his shoulders and said, I got this. And that's exactly what he does. He takes us on this predictable journey, and we're in it for the action scenes. The action is actually very well constructed. Not so much for the story, but I really liked his performance. He commits, he's emotional, he does everything you need him to do. And this movie is on Amazon Prime if you want to check it out. It's one that you can turn your brain off and watch. You don't have to invest yourself too much. They try to throw a few things at us. Okay, but I am not on board for a sequel. Michael B. Jordan. Next up is Moxie. You seen a trend here? We're going to put this on the okay tier. It's another okay movie. So, inspired by her mom's rebellious past and confident new friend, a shy 16-year-old publishes an anonymous zine calling out sexism at her school. This film is directed and written by Amy Poehler. This film is directed and produced by Amy Poehler. I loved our lead here. I thought the cast was spectacular. The movie does play out in like typical and cliched fashion. It's somewhat one of those films that you watch and you enjoy in the moment, but then you look back and you have kind of nitpicks about when it comes to the plot, the story, the construction, just the way that it played out wasn't necessarily a way that I felt the emotion from that they were going for. I think it was a bit too serious and then a bit too on the opposite side at times, so it doesn't balance that as well as it wanted to. But at the end of the day, I do think Amy Poehler did a nice job with this film. It's just not the most memorable movie in the world, in my opinion. How about Demon Slayer? Now, everybody who hasn't watched the Demon Slayer anime, you're not going to know what I'm talking about for the next, 30 seconds. I'll be very quick. I'll be brief. It is a movie that takes place after Season 1 of one of the best animes I've watched over the past 10 years. It is essentially a bridge between Season 1 and Season 2, a very contained story. Think Polar Express, but bloody. This movie was awesome, and I can't help but to put it on the awesome tier. Now, in the grand scheme of things, again, it's kind of like this inside joke, almost, if you haven't seen it, because everyone who has seen it has essentially really enjoyed it or loved it. I'm in that camp. I think this movie is awesome, and yeah, you guys are just like, Austin, move on. Okay, well, the Mitchells versus the Machines, and this is another one that gets very close to being awesome. I mean, it is almost on that awesome tier, but we're going to put it on the great tier. I thought The Mitchells versus the Machines was fantastic. This is Lord and Miller, but they didn't direct the project. They were only producers. So our directors here do such a great job of taking this story of essentially this young girl and her father and kind of the fallout between them. They decide to go on a road trip with the mother and the brother, and all chaos breaks loose, and things are getting a little crazy on this road trip. Essentially, they have to save the world. The animation style, the way that this story plays out, the heartfelt nature of it, and the humor, it all comes together to create what I believe to be one of the most entertaining stories, movies, things I've seen all year, and it was just awesome. So I'll tell you this right now, if you guys haven't seen The Mitchells vs. the Machines, it's on Netflix, just dropped this weekend, and it is incredible. We see what animation is doing just on this list, but in 2021, we've had some great animation overall, and that's definitely one of them. Next up, The Unholy, starring Jeffrey Dean Morgan, a horror film that attempts to showcase a good range of scares and moments that really creep you out and ideas that just don't thematically work all the way. And about halfway through this film, I sat back and said, I've seen this movie before, and I just don't know if it's accomplishing what it's trying to do. I think there are some really good ideas here. It's just, for me, the execution. I don't know if it's a very well-directed film. Evan Spiliotopoulos. I tried. And unfortunately, it's one that I'm not going to remember in, what does Jeremy John say, T-1 day? Already forgot. Good job, Jeremy. Quo Vadis, Aida is an Oscar-nominated international feature film that I think could have swept in and possibly competed with Another Round. Another Round, you guys know, was my personal favorite of last year. Well, this one finally released on Hulu, and it was my first time seeing it. What an incredible movie. I mean, a film that takes your heart, it rips it out, it showcases this story. Well, before I go any further, let me go ahead and throw this on the great tier because it deserves to be there. It shows us Aida, who is a translator for the UN in this small town, but when the Serbian army comes in to take over this town, her family is among the thousands of citizens looking for shelter in the UN camp, so she tries her very best to take her family with her and say, listen, they're going with me no matter what. People don't really want to work with her, and it becomes this conflict, but it is this just loud, purposefully obnoxious movie of all of these people trying to find solace, trying to find comfort in these very trying times. It takes place in a time when, you couldn't really hear the voices like you wanted to of those crying out, and some people just refuse to hear them altogether. And then you have the tragedy of what happens in this film. And I will not say what, I will just say, you talk about beautiful filmmaking, incredible cinematography, top-notch performances, and a film that will rip your heart out. Now, it's not going to be for everyone because of the pacing, and I think that's my one issue here. It's just not a film that really flows as well as maybe you want it to, but everything else comes together to create, I believe, one of the most beautiful films I have seen this year. Absolutely. So the next movie that we're talking about is Stowaway. Now, this one was a big topic on my channel. A lot of people hated this film. Some people really like this movie. Again, it's popular this month. I'm kind of right in the middle. I'm going to put Stowaway. I'm going to stow that right away. I mean, okay. That's not funny. Look, it's flawed, and I think the ending is flawed, and I think the idea is a little bit flawed, but I loved the acting, and I really loved the way that the characters interact to showcase humanity in a way that doesn't necessarily come across like maybe we all expect it to. Stowaway doesn't work all the way, that's for sure. But I had almost this fascinating, this interesting time watching this movie. Great performances, obviously. Anna Kendrick is probably the highlight of the film. Actually, it's probably our newcomer here. His name is Shamir Anderson. He was really good. I thought they wasted Toni Collette just a bit. But overall, it's a film that does disappoint. But I will say I liked the look. I liked the filmmaking. I liked the performances a lot. It's just everything else kind of falls a little bit flat at the end of the day. And then, of course, Mortal Kombat. It's going on the okay tier, and look, I know that doesn't seem like the best thing, but hear me out. We talk about flawed movies. Mortal Kombat is very flawed. It is a film that doesn't necessarily take in elements of what you want when you're criticizing a movie, right? And I'm not trying to be the pretentious Rotten Tomatoes critic that I probably am. It's just more so, well, the acting's not very good, and the story structure's a little all over the place, and you get into the second act, and it does slow down to a point that I wasn't really enjoying myself, but then you get into that third act, and the action and the fighting and the characters themselves, the way they are presented to us on screen, other than maybe our main character, which I wasn't all that interested in, those parts, really, really fun. And I had a fun time with this film. I understand it's flawed, and the critical side of my brain's going to see that and be like, Austin, you gotta just criticize it here and criticize it there. But then the other side of my brain's going to say, ooh, fun, action, blood, gore. And that side kind of won out at the end of the day and put that on the okay tier. So Mortal Kombat has a lot going for it, that's for sure, especially for fans. And it's kind of got me looking forward to a sequel, and that's a pretty good thing as well. So, of course, we're going to rank these films. Let's start at the bottom of this list. And poor Melissa McCarthy right at the bottom there. Followed by The Unholy. And then we have just this huge chunk of okay movies. And at the bottom, we are going to put Why Did You Kill Me? Followed by, let's put Moxie in that next spot. Without Remorse will be the next film on my list, followed by Stowaway. So, we have our two there, In the Earth and Mortal Kombat. I actually think In the Earth is a little bit lower than I was going to put it. I was going to put it up near the top, but the more I think about it, the more I kind of want to slide it behind Moxie. So that's what I'm going to do. I think I had more fun with Moxie, more fun Without Remorse. Stowaway was a more interesting film for me, but I've got to go Mortal Kombat in that number one spot. I mean, it is just some of the most fun I've had all year, even though, again, the film is flawed. Then we have Justice Society firmly in that number 5 spot. At number 4, I mean, we just have 3 outstanding movies here. I've got to go Shiva Baby. There's just a bit more to these other films that appeals to me, and I'm going to keep Quo Vadis, Aida right there, because Mitchell's and the Machines. I mean, you just can't go wrong with the amount of entertainment from that animated movie. And then, of course, the Inside film. And for those of you that are fans of Demon Slayer, you're going to get a kick out of this, my number 1 movie of April. Now, April was a month where we didn't have the most movies in the world. Again, I'm usually throwing in like 20, 25 films. This month, or next month, is the month that I'm really excited about, because May, we have some movies that I've already watched, we have some movies I can't wait to talk about, and we have some films that I hope rank high up on my 2021 list. So, you guys, get in that comment section down below. Let me know, what was your favorite movie in April? Out of these films, which did you like and not like the most? And if you enjoy these videos, be sure to drop your thumbs up down below and start a conversation down below. Thanks for your support. Thanks for subscribing, tuning in, as always, and I'll see you very soon.